President Joe Biden plans to unveil sweeping changes to curtail the rise of gun violence and crime since the pandemic. Meanwhile, a so-called F-bomb teenager has won a free speech case in the US Supreme Court over a Snapchat rant missing out on a cheer squad. The court protected the student's rights. It's very interesting indeed. Let's go live now to US correspondent Michael Ware. Michael, great to see you. First, US gun laws. This is something that we find really hard to get our head around here in Australia. And Biden has opened the door somewhat, but are you confident that there's going to be any substantive change?
Look, the sad answer to that is that in most likelihood, no. There probably won't be a lot of movement on this issue. So well entrenched is the political and cultural power of gun owners and the associations that represent them. But, you know, and what you say is so correct. It's so hard, I think, for Australians to get our heads around this kind of gun violence because there is a pandemic of gun violence here in America. So much so that President Joe Biden gathered a roundtable conference today of mayors and police chiefs and other officials to sort of brainstorm and to take a measure of just how dire the crisis is. And let's have a look at that crisis. You know, this year alone, a very reliable reference is an organisation that tracks gun violence, and they define a mass shooting as an event where 4 or more people are shot in a single incident. Now, just so far this year, here in America, there's been 300 mass shootings. 342 people have been killed in them, and 1,300 have been wounded in those incidents. And President Biden today mentioned that 57 women are shot by an intimate partner on average every month here in America. What does that tell you? You know, just here in LA, they deal with something like 27 gunshot victims per week. Chicago and across the country in all major cities, homicides are up by over 33%. New York City, shootings are up over 73%. And this is a part of America. It's the Second Amendment enshrines the right to bear arms. But the problem is, every time you have an election, what do? Go and buy guns in case the gun laws change. When a pandemic hit, what did people do? They went and bought guns. And oddly enough, here in America, there's the annual summer spike in crimes and shootings that occurs every year. So President Biden has unveiled a plan where he wants to free up, or is freeing up, COVID relief money to pay for more police, to pay for overtime, to fund prevention programs, and to hunt rogue gun dealers who aren't following the law, and as the president said, are merchants of death who are putting these weapons in the hands of the wrong people. Now, President Biden has called on Congress to act to close so many loopholes in the legislation that covers guns, but I think those calls are most certainly to go unheard.
Indeed. And look, this is something that we do talk about from time to time, and you want to keep a very close eye on what Joe Biden does about gun control, because it's something that every president before him has been unable to get a handle on, even Barack Obama after the shocking Sandy Hook school massacre of primary school children. So not even that was a catalyst. So look, Michael, thank you for that. Before I let you go, I do want to ask you about this case of Snapchat. Didn't know you were such a big fan of Snapchat. What's happened here?
Yeah, well, I'm not sure I know my way around Snapchat, and I'm sure I don't even have it downloaded on my phone. But this is a fascinating case that deals with one of America's other most sacred constitutional rights, the First Amendment and the guarantee of free speech. Now, a few years ago, a 14-year-old girl missed the cut for her varsity high school cheerleading team. and she created a Snapchat video in response. Well, I can tell you now that that girl who was then 14 and is now in college F-bombed her way all the way up to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court this morning issued its judgment in her favour. Now, on her video, where she's obviously very upset, she says, F school, F softball, F cheer, F everything, and made a rude gesture. Now, she was off campus when she did that, but the school still suspended her for a year from the cheerleading team. And so she took them to court and progressed all the way through the courts up to the highest court in the land. And there, the Supreme Court upheld her right to free speech. Now, when it comes to students, schools are able to regulate some of their speech, but the court found that, certainly when they're off campus and they're just venting, even if it's in terrible language, as teenagers are wont to do, then that cannot be regulated by the school. So what the limit on free speech has been, reaffirmed is that any speech by a student, for it to be really regulated and corrected by the school, has to cause a meaningful and substantive disruption. And they said this girl's F-bomb rant did not do that, and that the First Amendment applies to her case. She's now in college. Let's hope she makes the cheer team there.
Michael Ware, always good to talk to you. We'll check in with you soon.